Sex work is real work. That's the claim people make. The goal of the claim is to crush any debate around sex work and the potential harms it may have. But like most platitudes, this specific slogan doesn't cover the nuances or complexity of sex work. Obviously, it is real work. There are real human beings doing the work, so technically, it's real. We should also try and remember that when we speak about them or the subject of sex work. Because far too often we dehumanize sex workers or anyone in the industry, and I think that hurts the overall conversation. They're wounded people, just like every single one of us living on this planet. So yeah, sure, sex work is work, technically. But should we be advocating for it? People can use their bodies for physical labor like construction, sports, acting, or modeling, then why should sexual labor be any different? Athletes are damaging their bodies for entertainment, and models and influencers are profiting off their appearance, and actors are filming explicit scenes in mainstream movies. So why shouldn't girls be allowed to do the same? Of course, all people should have autonomy over their body. That's obvious. The problem I have are the consequences of normalizing this type of behavior, especially to teenagers who are being encouraged to pursue sex work as this freeing, lucrative business that empowers you. In reality, that's not what the industry is like for the vast majority of people. In some cases, platforms like OnlyFans only give exploiters even more of an incentive to indoctrinate literal children into the adult film industry before their brains are fully developed. So is it moral work? Is it a net benefit for society? Those are the questions we need to be asking and thinking about. Some view platforms like OnlyFans as an empowering way for creators to take control of their own income, while others see any form of sex work as, disgusting, depraving, subhuman behavior. As with most debates, the truth lies, somewhere in between. But I think most of us can agree upon the fact that this whole sexual revolution, sexual freedom we're currently going through is reaching extremes that in many cases is doing more harm than good. The reality for the vast majority of OnlyFans creators is far less appealing. Maybe you've heard this stat before, but there are over 4 million OnlyFans creators as of 2023, and only 1% of those are earning at least $10,000 per month, and the real average earnings for OnlyFans creators is $150 to $180 a month. One of the big issues I have with making hypersexuality so normalized is that it creates a narrative and it suggests it's acceptable for teenagers and young adults who may not fully understand themselves or the consequences of their actions to start uploading naked pictures or videos of themselves, treating sex like a commodity and a purely transactional relationship. And in my opinion, this deeply diminishes the value of human relationships overall, which has far-reaching societal consequences affecting everything from platonic to romantic connections. I mean, relationships are the cornerstone of a good life, and we should be holding them in the highest regard and teaching our young people that as well. And so let's use Lily Phillips as the prime example. Lily Phillips is the young woman from England who went viral a couple months ago for sleeping with 100 men in 24 hours. There was a whole documentary that was made about that entire sort of charade extravaganza thing that she did. And there's a scene from that documentary where Lily Phillips uncovers that her father's friends send her custom video requests on OnlyFans. She doesn't even, bat an eye. Then later, recounting her stunt with 100 men, she cries when recounting that she couldn't please everyone. Her mother is her finance manager. Her parents both support her porn career. This points to a deep-seated self-loathing, sort of self-harm that is only reinforced by the fact that no one stepped in to protect her. All her role models completely failed her, and her parents should be deeply ashamed. I hope that at some point she learns to value herself and her true intrinsic worth. I mean, that goes really for all people engaging in this type of work. You receive the wrong messaging, and you have so much value beyond your body and your looks. But now Lily Phillips is famous for these types of activities. Again, young girls will see this and think, I can become rich and famous if I do this. The image she gives out sends the wrong message to women, girls, whoever it is. Also, it must be said, and we'll get into this a little bit more, that the guys that partake in this type of activity as well are sad and desperate and lonely. So overall, we need better role models and messaging for our young men and women and for our girls and boys. Or the moral decay of our society will continue and continue and continue. But at this point, she, being Lily Phillips, is trying to hold on to her fame by any means necessary, which means Lily Phillips has to continue to do more wild stuff and do more wild stuff and do more wild stuff. And that apparently led her to allow 50 men into her back door. This is her most recent stunt. Listen to that again. 50 men into her back door. I don't really even know, what to say or how to respond to that. I mean, this is one of the big problems with sort of content creation in general, is that you'll always be asked to do more, and you probably will. Whether that's because of money or maintaining the attention you have or having this feeling of like needing to do more to stay relevant. Like Lily Phillips is personifying this right now by doing more and more, let's say, adventurous acts. It is increasingly becoming more and more dangerous, and we should really try and stop it and not promote it or glamorize it or freaking normalize it. It should never ever be considered normal to allow 50 strangers in your back door, nor to be one of 50 guys to want to be willing to do that. But sadly, our society has gotten to this place. It's often talked about what the motivating factors are that lure women into sex work. The empowerment, the attention, the millions of dollars that they're promised if they just make an OnlyFans account. But as I stated above, the lure is just part of the whole scam. But what about the massive repercussions that are not discussed as much, especially, psychologically with our mental health? But as you listen to Lily Phillips, her moral claim for all of this is, what is wrong with having sex with consenting adults? The sex isn't the point, it's what's happening as a result of it. There's an effect from the manner in which this type of sex is occurring. There are multiple factors in play that are not good. The fact that men are masked is a good indicator that something isn't right, that something is wrong. Men will not mask their faces when they're doing something right. There's a level of trying to hide what is being done. This is a strong indicator of some issues that are not being addressed. This is not something that is positive or that should be encouraged or normalized or glamorized, or whatever. I mean, young men, as we know, or maybe you don't know, are deeply struggling in our society, and it must be addressed. We can't ignore this any longer. They feel completely rejected and demonized and are using easy access to porn as a way to cope. Because a generation of men are really growing up to objectify women, seeing them through a purely sexual lens, rather than learning how to respect them and properly engage with them in real life. We need accountability. Young men need challenge, adventure, and risk, and the opportunity to display excellence to become healthy masculine men. And that only happens in the real world, in real life, not behind a screen with all this instant gratification, easy access bullshit. Because young men desperately need strong role models. Great men need to step up to show our young boys a better path. We need accountability and not always pointing the fingers and blaming women and blaming women and blaming women. We, as men, have to take responsibility. We need great, strong role models to step up to show our young men a better path. To me, it's clear that this has gone way too far, and we can't continue to ignore the darker realities of this industry that have been spawning recently. I mean, 50 dudes in the back door. We can't just think that's a normal behavior. But we must also address the men who berate and belittle women for participating in this industry while being the only reason they can make a living doing this type of work. This goes to the accountability. We need to hold men accountable. Men need to hold other men accountable. Obviously, we play a large part in this sex economy, but in terms of what's worse, though, I would say that OnlyFans creators targeting and taking advantage of specifically young men who are naive and not old enough to understand the consequences of their actions does call for more accountability than the young men that don't realize what getting into this is going to do to them. This portion is specifically in regards to Bonnie Blue targeting barely legal boys and exploiting them. But you can only be mad at creators. You can't only be mad at creators, right? You can't only be mad at creators when there's tons of male adults that are old enough to realize what they're doing, which is spending, crazy amounts of money on women they'll never meet, but this is a response from men on how they feel about their place in society, which again cannot be ignored. So at this point, you have to ask yourself, what is it about our society that drives women to pursue this career or makes them feel like they have no other option, and what leaves men so starved for attention and feel so rejected that they're willing to drain their finances or show up for a thing with Lily Phillips for an OnlyFans creator that they'll never even meet, or they're going to have sex with for a minute and a half or less than that in this weird sort of masked environment? Because those are the questions that hold the real answer as to why this even exists at the scale it does in the first place. Like I said, this has gone way too far, and we need to speak about it while continuously critiquing the extremes of this industry without dehumanizing those involved, right? To really have a flourishing society, we need all people to see their worth and dignity, so that turning to this type of work is not a reality. It's not even an option. That's where we need to get to with our society, and that only happens with open and honest dialogue about what's really happening within this type of industry for both men and women. So let me know what you think, and thank you for your time and attention. If you found that valuable at all, please share it with a friend, and I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers.